Listen closely, because something is shifting around you in this very moment, and it is not by accident. You didn't stumble into this message. You were drawn into it, pulled by a spiritual gravity that only rests on those who are marked, chosen, and appointed for a higher path. There is a reason your heart feels stirred. There is a reason your spirit feels awakened. There is a reason you feel this sudden pressure, this inner intensity, this almost electric sense that something is about to break open. Because it is. What blocked you is breaking. Not later, not someday, now. There is a prophetic release unfolding in the unseen, and it is reaching toward your life with deliberate precision. The restrictions, the delays, the invisible barriers that have hovered over your path, the things you couldn't explain, couldn't understand, and couldn't seem to push past, they are beginning to crumble. Heaven has issued a shift. God has initiated a move, and the chains that wrapped around your destiny, are starting to rattle under the weight of divine intervention. You have felt stuck when you were trying to move. You have felt held back when you were ready to rise. You have felt pressed in by forces you couldn't name or see. But hear this clearly, your struggle was never a sign of defeat. It was a sign of the battle surrounding your breakthrough. What resisted you was never stronger than what is inside you. And now the one who called you is stepping in with decisive authority. This message is not random. It is targeted, not general. It is specific. Not symbolic. It is personal. You are listening at the exact moment the spiritual timeline around your life is shifting. You are hearing this at the precise second. Heaven is releasing a command that changes everything. Your freedom has been issued. But freedom does not always appear with noise and fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like the first crack in a wall that has stood for years. Sometimes it begins as a whisper in your spirit, before it becomes a roar in your circumstances. And sometimes, like now, it begins with a prophetic word that unlocks what has been bound for far too long. There is more to this message. There is something deeper, something sacred that is about to unfold. But before we go further, take a breath. Because what you are about to hear will confirm what you have been sensing all along. The breaking has begun, and freedom is moving toward you with purpose. And this shift you're feeling, this quiet cracking of the invisible barriers, it isn't coming from your effort alone. It isn't the result of pushing harder, praying louder, or forcing your way through walls that refuse to move. No. This moment is happening because a divine decision has been made on your behalf. A higher authority has stepped into the equation, and heaven has issued a command concerning your life. What is unfolding now originates from a place far beyond your physical reach. It is not a human choice. It is not a coincidence. This is a heavenly intervention, a decree spoken over your journey by the one who sees the end from the beginning. The shift you feel is not emotional. It is spiritual. It is the result of God releasing something that had been held in reserve for the appointed moment. You need to understand this. Your breakthrough is not emerging from your striving. It is emerging from God's timing. And when God speaks, creation responds. When He issues a command, resistance dissolves. When He declares freedom, no chain can remain intact. The atmosphere around your life is responding to a divine voice. Where you felt blocked, God has said, open. Where you felt delayed, God has whispered, move. Where you felt forgotten, God has spoken now. And the spiritual realm is shifting accordingly. This message carries the weight of that divine communication. Not as a soft encouragement, but as a prophetic announcement. Heaven does not speak in vain. God does not stir your spirit without purpose. If you feel this message pulling you in, tightening around your heart, vibrating through your emotions, confirming things you haven't even confessed out loud, it's because you are hearing what has already been declared in the unseen. This is why your spirit feels alert, awakened, and strangely emotional. This is why something inside you says, "This is for me." Because God is not just informing you, He is preparing you. He is letting you feel the shift before you fully see it. There is a holy intentionality behind every word being spoken over you right now. Heaven is not simply announcing your freedom, it is aligning the path before you. The spiritual obstacles that once stood tall are losing their authority. The confusion, the delay, the invisible resistance. These were not permanent barriers. They were temporary blocks, permitted only until the divine timeline reached maturity. And now, it has. What you are stepping into is not accidental breakthrough. It is divine release, and divine release is precise. It comes at the moment when your spirit is ready to carry what was once too heavy. It arrives when your faith has grown strong enough to sustain what God is about to place in your hands. And it reveals itself when heaven knows your character has been forged in silence, pressure, and endurance. This is why this moment matters. This is why you're listening right now. Because God isn't just freeing you, He's positioning you. He's not just breaking the block, He's preparing the blessing. And the revelation of that begins now. What has been stirring around you in silence is now moving into revelation. The veil that once covered the deeper meaning behind your struggles, delays, and invisible battles is beginning to lift. And as it lifts, the truth becomes unmistakable. You were never being blocked. You were being prepared. There is a prophecy over your life that has been developing in the shadows, like a seed pushing quietly through the soil, absorbing pressure while drawing strength. You have been in a spiritual season that felt restrictive, but restriction was not the intention, refinement was. Every closed door, every frustrating pause, every moment where momentum seemed to evaporate. These were not signs of abandonment. They were part of a divine setup. Because here is the prophecy, the very thing that resisted you will now release you. The force that once restrained you will now catapult you. What stood in your way will now become the testimony that elevates you. This is the shift you have been sensing. Something is changing not because the battle has ended, but because the purpose behind the battle has been fulfilled. The pressure that once felt suffocating is now transforming into propulsion. The weight that once felt heavy is now becoming strength. And the silence that once felt unsettling is now becoming clarity. You are transitioning from containment to release. In the spirit, it looks like a door that has been locked for years, suddenly clicking open. It feels like a dam breaking under the weight of long-stored water. It resembles chains snapping without human hands touching them. It is the kind of shift that doesn't just change circumstances, it changes identity, posture, and direction. This prophetic release isn't gentle. It is decisive, authoritative, unstoppable. It moves like fire breaking through dry wood, like light splitting open the thickest darkness, like wind carving a new path through hardened terrain. And it is directed toward you with unshakable precision. For a long time, your blessings hovered close, but didn't land. Your opportunities approached, but didn't open. Your dreams stirred, but didn't manifest. You lived in the tension of almost free, almost elevated, almost breaking through. And that almost created a pressure that felt painful and confusing. But the prophecy speaks to this very tension. What hovered will now descend. What lingered will now land. What was withheld will now be released. There is a spiritual decree that has gone out over your life. What blocked you breaks, and when God issues a command, nothing remains the same. The atmosphere obeys, the unseen shifts. The chains give way, the path becomes clear. You may not see all the evidence yet, but you can feel it, that strange combination of calm and urgency, peace and anticipation, silence and certainty. It's the sensation of standing on the threshold of something significant, even if your eyes haven't yet caught up with what your spirit knows. This is not a vague feeling. This is prophetic alignment. In the unseen, your next season has already begun. Your spirit is simply sensing what your circumstances are about to reveal. And the prophecy continues. The blockage was never meant to break you. It was meant to break open. The delay was never a denial. It was divine timing. The pressure was never punishment. It was preparation. You have been positioned, strategically, deliberately, lovingly. Everything you went through has led you to this threshold. The weight you carried was shaping your strength. The silence you endured was strengthening your sensitivity. The prayers you prayed were building your authority. And now, because heaven has spoken, everything around you is shifting. There is a wind rising in the spirit, a holy momentum that is about to sweep through the areas of your life where resistance gathered. You may not have words for it yet, but your spirit recognizes it. Something is loosening. Something is lifting. Something is breaking. And soon, very soon, what you've been waiting for will move from prophecy to manifestation. But before that moment arrives, before the visible transformation unfolds before your eyes, you must understand the deeper meaning behind everything you've endured. Because the breaking of the blockage is not the end of this story. It is the beginning of the revelation. What you've been walking through was never random. The delays, the resistance, the pressure, the repeated moments where you felt yourself pushing against something you couldn't see, all of it carried spiritual meaning far greater than the frustration it produced. And now, as the prophecy begins to unfold, you must understand the deeper layers behind your journey, because revelation is not just about what is coming. It's also about why it is coming. You were not blocked because you were weak. You were blocked because you were becoming powerful. There is a spiritual law woven into your destiny. The greater the calling, the greater the shaping. The higher the path, the deeper the preparation. God was not withholding your breakthrough. He was refining the version of you that would inherit it. And refinement rarely feels gentle. It feels like pressure pruning, and sometimes even loss. But spiritually, it is one of the highest forms of divine protection. You are being shaped for the weight of what you're about to carry. Think of a seed pressed into darkness before it emerges. Think of gold buried in fire before it shines. Think of a path carved through stone by the pressure of water over time. Nothing destined for greatness avoids shaping. Nothing created to carry significance bypasses depth. And nothing marked by God enters its calling without first being prepared in the shadows. Your blocked season was actually a season of spiritual construction. The door that didn't open wasn't a rejection. It was protection from stepping into something prematurely. The silence you experienced wasn't abandonment. It was God tuning your spiritual ears to recognize His voice over the noise. The resistance wasn't punishment. It was strengthening your discernment, sharpening your spirit, and training you to move differently. Every moment of frustration was part of an unseen curriculum. Spiritually, you were learning endurance. Emotionally, you were learning surrender. Mentally, you were learning clarity. And in the unseen, you were learning how to stand in authority. This season taught you to hear God beyond your feelings. It taught you to trust Him despite the delay. It taught you to walk by faith when sight was not enough. And it awakened a depth inside you that only pressure could reveal. The spiritual meaning becomes even clearer when you look at what was happening around you. While you felt confined, heaven was expanding you. While you felt restricted, God was removing what could not remain in your next chapter. While you felt held back, destiny was pulling you forward into alignment. Your blockages were actually limiters, guardrails placed to keep you from moving toward what would have drained you, distracted you, or destroyed you. Every no you received protected the yes that was meant for you. Every delay preserved what you weren't ready to steward. Every closed path redirected you toward the one that was truly yours. Spiritually, you were being rewired. Emotionally, you were being reset. And prophetically, you were being positioned. This is why the block was necessary. If the path had opened earlier, you would have entered with the wrong expectations, the wrong people, or the wrong version of yourself. You needed clarity to recognize what is truly aligned with your purpose. You needed healing to receive what is about to enter your life with wholeness instead of fear. You needed strength to walk into rooms where you once felt unworthy. This level of spiritual preparation does not happen in ease. It happens in the tension of the unseen. You learned how to trust God without evidence. You learned how to move without applause. You learned how to stand when nothing around you supported it. And you learned how to keep your spirit alive even when the world around you grew quiet. These lessons formed the foundation for your elevation. Every storm that tried to break you taught you resilience. Every moment of loneliness taught you spiritual intimacy. Every battle that wore you down taught you how to rise again. Every delay taught you how to recognize divine timing. And every invisible wall taught you how to navigate life with a sensitivity that only the chosen carry. In the spiritual realm, your identity was being forged. The deeper meaning behind your blockages is this. Your spirit needed to become stronger than your circumstances, because where you are going, circumstances will try to intimidate you. Where you are being sent, people may try to misjudge you. And what you are stepping into will require discernment far beyond what you had before. God wasn't ignoring you. He was investing in you. He was building patience to sustain you. He was building character to stabilize you. He was building vision to guide you. He was building faith to anchor you. And he was building authority so that when doors opened, you would walk through them without hesitation, fear, or apology. This is why the breaking matters. Because the breaking is not just about what is being removed, it is about what is being revealed. And what is being revealed is the version of you that is capable of carrying the prophecy, protecting the blessing, and walking in the fullness of the calling placed upon your life. You are stepping out of limitation and into identity, out of delay and into alignment, out of pressure and into purpose. But before the release fully manifests, there are signs, subtle, precise, prophetic, that begin to surface. And those signs are already appearing. And as this spiritual shift begins to take shape, signs start to appear, not loud or dramatic at first, but subtle prophetic indicators that something in the atmosphere around your life is moving. These signs act like divine breadcrumbs guiding you toward the truth that freedom is not coming. It has already begun. The breaking of what blocked you does not arrive without evidence. Heaven always leaves traces. Here are the signs you may have already started noticing. 1. A sudden internal restlessness. You can't explain. This isn't anxiety. It isn't fear. It's a spiritual stirring, a quiet, persistent sense that you can't stay where you've been emotionally or spiritually. It feels like outgrowing a space you haven't even left yet. This restlessness is heaven's way of shifting your inner posture before your outer world transforms. It's the spirit announcing that your season of delay is ending. You find yourself uncomfortable with what used to feel normal. You feel pulled, stretched, awakened. You sense movement even when nothing around you has changed. That is the first sign. Two, old attachments begin to fall away naturally. People you relied on suddenly feel distant. Environments you tolerated now feel draining. Habits that once numbed you no longer satisfy. This isn't loss, it's alignment. When God prepares you for release, He removes anything that cannot remain on the other side of your breakthrough. You don't have to force anything. Relationships fade without conflict. Desires shift. Cycles break on their own. What doesn't belong simply slips away. And though you may not understand it, your spirit feels lighter. 3. Moments of unexpected clarity. Break through the noise. You might be washing dishes, driving, working, or resting, and suddenly a thought arrives with unusual sharpness. A realization, a direction, a confirmation. These flashes of clarity feel almost intrusive because they are not from your mind alone. They are divine whispers rising through the spiritual fog that once clouded your vision. Your mind begins to clear. Your decisions feel guided. Your spirit feels anchored. This clarity is a sign that the blockage is dissolving. 4. An increase in opposition right before the shift. Strangely, just before freedom arrives, resistance can momentarily spike. Frustration increases. Small things go wrong. Old temptations reappear. People test your boundaries. This is not a setback. It is a spiritual indicator that something is breaking open. Pressure always intensifies before release. Darkness flickers right before it disappears. The enemy fights hardest when the battle is already lost. If resistance recently intensified, it's because you're crossing the threshold. 5. A quiet but unshakable sense of something is about to change. This is the most profound sign. It's not emotional, it's not logical, it's spiritual. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it when you go to sleep. You feel it even when nothing outwardly supports it. It's an inner assurance that doesn't come from you. It comes from God. A prophetic knowing that the atmosphere around your life has shifted and that what once resisted you can no longer hold its place. This knowing is heaven's final hint that release is already in motion. These signs are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are signals of alignment. They are evidence that what blocked you is losing its grip. But signs are only one side of the story. There is another side, the hidden challenges that appear right before manifestation. And understanding them will prepare you for the breakthrough that's unfolding. Before the full release manifests, there are challenges, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because breakthrough always comes wrapped in spiritual tension. These challenges often appear in disguise, subtle enough to overlook, yet significant enough to shake your confidence if you're not prepared. But once you recognize them for what they are, they stop feeling like setbacks and begin to look like confirmation that freedom is near. Here are the hidden challenges that often surface right before God breaks. What blocked you? 1. The weight of waiting feels heavier than ever. It's strange, just when you're closest to release, the waiting suddenly feels unbearable. Time moves slower. Your patience feels thin. Every day feels like a stretch. This heaviness isn't a sign that you're far from breakthrough. It's actually a sign that you're near the tipping point. Spiritually waiting sharpens your sensitivity. Emotionally waiting tests your endurance. And right before manifestation, waiting presses hardest. This challenge reveals that your spirit is outgrowing the season you're leaving. 2. Emotions become unpredictable and intense. You may notice sudden waves of sadness, frustration, irritation, or exhaustion, sometimes without a clear cause. These emotional shifts aren't random. They're the release of old energy, old identities, and old patterns being stripped away. When heaven prepares you for elevation, your inner world begins detaching from anything that cannot go with you. That detachment can feel like emotional turbulence, but you're not breaking down. You're breaking free. 3. You feel spiritually tested in areas you thought you'd outgrown, Old temptations try to resurface. Old wounds attempt to reopen. Old insecurities whisper lies you know aren't true. This is not regression. It's revelation. The pressure reveals the areas where you've grown stronger. The test exposes how far you've come. What once controlled you no longer has authority. But the challenge arises to confirm your maturity, not to question it. Heaven is not testing your weakness, it is showcasing your strength. 4. Isolation intensifies even when you're surrounded by people. You may feel unseen or disconnected even in familiar environments. You might sense yourself drifting from conversations, environments, or relationships that once felt comfortable. This isn't loneliness, it's spiritual repositioning. God often isolates you before He elevates you, not to punish you, but to separate your spirit from the noise that could distort your direction. The challenge of isolation is a sign that you're being guided toward clarity. You're being called inward, to be prepared outward. 5. Unexpected disruptions or setbacks. Try to pull your focus. Right before breakthrough, life may throw sudden inconveniences your way. Not catastrophic, but distracting enough to drain your energy or shake your focus. These disruptions are designed to confuse you. They arise to make you doubt. They emerge to make you question whether the shift is real. But recognize this resistance spikes when breakthrough is near. If distractions are suddenly multiplying, it's because you're standing inches from a door that hell hoped you'd never reach. Stay anchored, stay focused, stay aware. ChosenOne. These challenges are not punishments, they are indicators. They arise not because God is withholding, but because the spiritual atmosphere is rearranging itself. The resistance you feel is the final friction before release. And as difficult as these challenges can be, they serve a divine purpose. They strengthen your spirit for the blessing you're about to receive. But you are not left to face them alone. God gives instruction, specific, precise, prophetic, to guide you through this moment of transition. And those instructions are the key to stepping into everything that is now opening for you. Now that you understand the signs and the challenges, the next part of this journey is crucial, because breakthrough is not something you simply wait for. Breakthrough is something you align with. It requires spiritual posture, emotional readiness, and intentional steps that position you for what God is releasing. These instructions are not burdens. They are not rules. They are invitations, sacred guidance designed to prepare you for the freedom that has already been issued. Hear them with an open spirit, because each one carries weight and purpose. To release what no longer aligns with who you are becoming before God opens the way forward, He often asks you to let go of what anchors you to the past. This may be a habit, a mindset, a fear, a relationship, or even a version of yourself that is no longer true. You cannot step into freedom while holding on to the very thing that kept you bound. This release doesn't need anger or dramatic closure. It requires honesty. Ask yourself, what is no longer in agreement with where I know I'm going? When the answer rises, don't resist it. Honor it. Let it go with peace. This act of release is a spiritual signal that you're ready to move. 2. Strengthen your spiritual discernment. Through stillness, breakthrough requires clarity, and clarity requires quiet. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and emotional static, your spirit needs space to hear what your mind often overlooks. Stillness is where God reveals the next step. Stillness is where confirmation becomes clear. Stillness is where your spirit receives instruction. Give yourself moments of silence early in the morning, late at night, or whenever your life allows. In that silence, you will notice thoughts that don't sound like your own gentle impressions. Sudden understanding, divine whispers. That is guidance. That is direction. That is alignment. 3. Speak what God has said. Not what your circumstances show. Your words are spiritual tools. They create atmosphere. When God is releasing breakthrough, your voice must agree with heaven. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means refusing to strengthen the blockage with your own speech. Stop saying, "I'm stuck. Nothing is changing. I don't know what to do. My life isn't moving." Start saying, "I am aligning. Something is breaking open. I am guided. My path is clearing. The door is opening for me now." Your words either build the blockage or break it. Speak in a way that partners with your prophecy. 4. Protect your energy and spirit from unnecessary noise. When you are on the edge of breakthrough, distractions multiply, especially people who drain, confuse, or discourage you. This is the time to create boundaries without guilt. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next season. Not everyone can understand your calling. Not everyone can handle the version of you that is rising. Give yourself permission to step back from what disturbs your peace, even if it's familiar. Protect your focus like something sacred, because it is. 5. Follow the internal nudge. Even if it doesn't make sense, yet breakthrough often arrives through small acts of obedience. A phone call you feel prompted to make. A habit you feel pushed to break. A decision you feel guided to take. A direction that keeps pulling your attention. These nudges are not random. They are spiritual signals. Your spirit often knows the direction before your mind understands the meaning. When you feel a persistent pull towards something good, peaceful, or aligned, don't ignore it. That pull is God guiding your steps toward the place where breakthrough manifests. 6. Walk with expectation, not hesitation. This is the moment where posture matters. You cannot walk like someone who doubts. You must walk like someone who knows. Expectation is a spiritual magnet. It draws manifestation toward you. Stand tall. Move like the way is already opening. Think like someone whose destiny is unfolding. Carry yourself as if the chains have already broken, because spiritually they have. Your expectation is not arrogance. It is agreement. 7. Pray with authority, not desperation. You are not begging for freedom. You're stepping into what has already been declared yours. Pray with clarity. Pray with boldness. Pray with the identity of someone who is already being lifted. Your prayers are not trying to convince God, they are aligning you with His will. These instructions are not random steps. They are spiritual strategy. Follow them, and you will find yourself stepping into the very freedom your spirit has been sensing. Because instructions precede elevation. Preparation precedes release. And the next part of your journey is not about surviving. It is about stepping into protection, assurance, and unstoppable divine momentum. And as you align yourself with these divine instructions, there is something you must hold close to your spirit. Something that rests at the very core of your breakthrough. You are protected. Not loosely, not occasionally, not partially, but completely, intentionally, and divinely. Your journey has never been uncovered. You have never walked alone. Even in the moments you felt overwhelmed or uncertain, you were surrounded by a covering you couldn't see yet constantly felt. And now, as the blocks break and the path ahead begins to open, this protection becomes even more profound. Breakthrough does not leave you exposed. It surrounds you with assurance. 1. God's presence is going before you. You are not stepping into new territory blindly. The way ahead is not being decided as you walk. It has already been prepared. Every step has been ordered. Every detail has been secured. Every obstacle has been anticipated. Where you are going, God is already there. What you will face, God has already seen. And what once resisted you no longer holds authority over you. You do not walk into this next season alone. You walk with divine presence, clearing the path before your feet touch it. 2 angels are assigned to your transition. In the unseen realm, there is movement, holy movement. Protective forces have been released on your behalf. You may feel it through moments of peace that make no sense, sudden calm during emotional storms, or an inner steadiness that didn't come from you. These aren't coincidences. They are spiritual evidence. When God ushers you into a new chapter, He assigns heavenly protection to guard what is opening. You are shielded from attacks you never saw. You are protected from traps you never stepped into. You are covered in ways you cannot fully comprehend. Your life is under watchful, intentional care. 3. Peace will rise in you even when circumstances haven't caught up yet. One of the clearest signs of divine protection is inner peace. Not the peace that comes from everything going right, but the peace that remains even when things look uncertain from the outside. This peace is prophetic. It is evidence of alignment. It is the voice of God whispering, "I've got you." You may still see remnants of old challenges, but they will no longer intimidate you. You may still hear echoes of past fears, but they will no longer control you. You may still feel the tension of transition, but you will know deeply that you are being carried. 4. The attacks that once overwhelmed you will fail before they form. In previous seasons, battles drained you. Opposition wore you down. Every setback felt personal, heavy, discouraging. But in this new season, those same attacks lose their power. Your spirit is stronger. Your discernment is sharper. Your protection is thicker. You are no longer the version of yourself that was easy to shake. What once broke you will now bounce off you. What once confused you will now reveal truth. What once intimidated you will now lose its authority in your presence. You are protected not just from what comes against you, but from what used to live within you. 5. Nothing can block what God has declared. Open. This is your assurance. What God opens, no force can close. What God breaks, no power can repair. What God releases, no enemy can restrain. You are stepping into a season where divine protection is not just covering you, it is guiding you, going before you, surrounding you, and carrying you. You are safe. You are guarded. You are held. And now, under this covering, the transformation begins. Under this divine protection, something extraordinary begins to unfold, not only around you, but within you. The breaking of the block is not just an external shift. It is an internal awakening, a spiritual metamorphosis, a transformation so profound that the version of you stepping into this new season will not resemble the version of you that fought to survive the last one. This is the moment where everything you've endured begins to make sense. This is where purpose rises out of the pain. This is where clarity emerges from confusion. This is where strength blossoms from struggle. Transformation is not simply change, it is revelation. It is the unveiling of who you truly are. You are stepping into a season where the weight you carried becomes the wisdom you walk with. The wounds you healed from become the authority you speak with. The tears you shed become the oil of anointing that marks your future steps. This is not poetic language, it is spiritual reality. 1. Your identity begins to rise with new confidence. For so long, your confidence was shaken by delay, rejection, confusion, and spiritual interference. But in this new season, something shifts in the way you see yourself. You begin to recognize your value without needing validation. You begin to feel your strength without needing proof. You begin to sense your calling with new clarity. This rising identity is not ego. It is alignment. It is the returning of the truth you forgot under pressure. You will wake up differently. You will speak differently. You will make decisions differently. You will not shrink yourself to fit old spaces anymore. You will stand in the fullness of who God has made you. 2 doors that once stayed closed will open easily. The struggle you once felt pushing forward will suddenly shift. Opportunities that resisted you will feel strangely effortless. Connections that never materialized will appear naturally. Things that once required force will now flow. This is not coincidence. It is spiritual synchronization. When God breaks the block, momentum returns. The path clears, the fog lifts. You step into divine timing, and divine timing carries its own type of grace, a grace that removes friction and brings alignment. The doors opening for you now are not based on luck, talent, or chance. They are based on purpose, preparation, and divine decree. 3. Your spirit feels lighter, almost unrecognizably so. The heaviness you carried for months or even years begins to dissipate. Not because everything is perfect, but because your spirit is no longer imprisoned. The internal chains have snapped. The external resistance has lifted. A spiritual oxygen enters your soul. You breathe differently. You move differently. You feel free. This lightness is not temporary relief. It is permanent release. 4. Your discernment sharpens and your vision clears. Transformation brings clarity. You begin to see people's intentions more accurately. You feel guided in decisions that once confused you. You sense direction without overthinking it. Your discernment becomes a spiritual compass, pointing you toward alignment and pulling you away from anything that threatens your peace. This sharpness is not a skill you learned. It is a spiritual gift that was activated through endurance. 5. You begin walking in a confidence that comes from God. Not arrogance, not performance, not pride, but holy confidence, the quiet, unshakable conviction that you are guided, protected, chosen, and aligned. You no longer walk as someone uncertain. You walk as someone prepared. You walk as someone awakened. You walk as someone who has survived spiritual warfare and come out stronger. Your presence changes. Your energy shifts. Your aura strengthens. This is transformation. 6. Fulfillment begins to appear in areas you thought were finished. God resurrects things you thought were dead dreams. You buried desires, you silenced visions, you paused, hopes you tucked away. He breathes life back into them. He revives what you thought was gone. He restores what you thought was lost. Fulfillment is not a far-off promise. It is already beginning. Look, your transformation is the proof that the block has broken. Your rising strength is the evidence that the season has shifted. Your renewed clarity is the sign that you are stepping into fulfillment. And now, with everything aligning, the journey comes to its prophetic seal. As this message reaches its final moments, let your spirit settle into the truth of everything spoken over you. You are no longer standing on the edge of breakthrough, you have already crossed into it. The atmosphere around your life has shifted. The block has broken. The release has begun. And all that remains now is for your spirit to agree with what heaven has already declared. To seal this moment, speak these affirmations aloud or let them echo within you until they sink deep into your identity. Affirmation 1. What blocked me is broken. I move forward freely. Say it with conviction. Say it with clarity. Say it until your spirit rises in agreement. This is not hope, this is declaration. Affirmation. I align with what God is releasing into my life. Your alignment is powerful. Your alignment is prophetic. Your alignment is what carries you into fulfillment. Let your heart match heaven's rhythm. Affirmation 3. I am protected, guided, and strengthened. You do not walk alone. You are not exposed. You are not vulnerable to the battles that once overwhelmed you. You walk covered, guarded, watched over. Affirmation 4. I embrace who I am becoming. The version of you rising now is stronger, wiser, clearer, and more aligned than ever before. Welcome this transformation. Honor it. Step fully into it. Let these affirmations become anchors for your spirit, guiding you whenever doubt whispers, whenever fear tries to return, whenever the memory of old battles attempts to pull you back. Speak them daily if needed. Speak them whenever the atmosphere shifts. Speak them until they become part of your identity, because you are stepping into a season that requires you to walk boldly, confidently, and intentionally. Now receive this blessing. A final prophetic blessing. May the path before you open with divine clarity. May the doors assigned to your destiny swing wide without resistance. May every chain that once held you be shattered beyond repair. May your spirit stay aligned with God's timing, God's voice, and God's purpose. May peace settle over you like a second skin, a peace that cannot be shaken, interrupted, or stolen. May protection surround you on every side, guarding your steps, your mind, your heart, and your journey. May every promise spoken over your life accelerate toward fulfillment. May strength rise in you. May purpose guide you. May divine favor rest upon your name. And may you walk forward knowing this truth. You are free. You are chosen. You are rising. And nothing that once blocked you will ever hold you again. Amen. It is sealed.